Just a brief overview of what Caltrans is. Our mission and goals. Caltrans's mission is to improve mobility across California. And the goals there are the safety, mobility, and to continue on delivery, flexibility, and the stewardship, which is to preserve and enhance California's resources and investments. So Caltrans is made up with by 12 different districts that are located throughout California, and headquarters, which is here in Sacramento. Throughout the districts, the 12 districts, is where all the design, the construction, and maintenance work is actually taking place. Here in headquarters is mostly administrative, specs and planning, along with some reporting and management is done here at the headquarters in Sacramento. Caltrans is a large state agency consisting of approximately 21,000 employees, and their mission is to help manage and maintain more than 45,000 lane miles of California's highways. Photographs here of some Caltrans facilities. I'd imagine this is down in Los Angeles somewhere, and there's certainly many miles of this, the open roadway, asphalt pavement. Also some retaining walls, barrier rails, landscaping, and here we have some maintenance crews maintaining the highways. As you've seen in those pictures, most of the C&D debris that would be generated from a typical Caltrans project would either consist of some kind of concrete, asphalt, steel, or wood. Typically, Caltrans, as a good steward of its resources, would try to incorporate the C&D debris back into that same project whenever possible. Certainly, it's not always done. It's not, or it can't always be done. But one example of this is this pavement pulverization, and this includes consists of recycling the existing pavement and using it for the base for the new pavement that will be going over it. And I have some photos here in just a second. So there's some really good advantages to doing this. There's no hauling involved. The recycling is taking place right there in place. And here we have some photos of that. Mill and pave the existing pavement, blade, moisten, and compact, and then you just need to do an overlay right on top of it. So that's a good example of some of the recycling that can be done in place. This doesn't happen all the time. We can't always do that. And when C&D material is generated from a construction project, it becomes the responsibility of the contractor to dispose of it properly. So the contractor has this material, the concrete or the asphalt, and they can either pay to dispose of it in landfill, or they can reuse it as material in future projects. And typically, contractors don't take concrete to landfills all that often. We've noticed that they use it back in future projects. And Caltrans previously didn't track this. Once it became the property of the contractor, it's their responsibility to dispose of it, and Caltrans never really tracked what the contractor was doing with it. We're doing it now, and I'll get into that in just a little bit. Our specifications do allow up to 50% reclaimed asphalt and concrete to be used in our base as base material, and our standard special provisions even allow up to 100% of this reclaimed material to be used as base material. So that material that the contractor does take can be crushed and reused on future projects for Caltrans, as long as it meets the certain gradations and specifications for that base material. We can allow up to 100% of reclaimed material to be used. So for state agencies, there's a state law, state AB 75, which was passed in 1999, requiring all state agencies to divert at least 50% of the waste generated from entering landfills by 2004. In this law, Caltrans is considered a large state agency, so each of those 12 districts needs to submit a report annually and meet the minimum requirements individually, separate from each of the other districts. So each year we turn in basically 13 of these reports, one for headquarters as well. Part of AB 75 allows for the recycling of the C&D material. Like I mentioned before, we had never really tracked what the contractor was doing with it, so we needed to know what they were doing it and have them report back. We had to write a specification. So Caltrans came up with this form, CEM 2025 is what we call it. Contractor fills out this form, at the once annually and also at the end of each project. And then they send it back to the district recycling coordinator, who compiles it and gets it in the AB75 report. Last year was the first year that we actually had the specification in place for it to go out into all construction projects. Prior to that, while we were developing the specification, we were selecting one construction project per district. We had to write a change order to have the contractor report back what was going on with that material on that one particular project. So we were able to get some information over the years past, and last year we got quite a bit more, but we're still trying to smooth out that process, being that last year was the first year that it went to all construction projects. And this is what the form looks like. I'm not sure if you can read it all that well, but the contractor fills it out, puts in the type of material that was being generated, whether it was concrete, asphalt, metal, the amount, where it was going to, and then signs at the bottom of it. The resident engineer also signs off on this report, but the contractor is one who fills it out and is certifying that what the information on there is correct. And here's a sample of one that was submitted last year. So there are, if you can read it, the 300 tons of asphalt was taken to was diverted from a landfill. Some material is still taken to landfills, but a lot of it is being diverted. I had one of these. I saw one of these that had 30,000 tons of concrete that was diverted from a landfill just from that one project. And at any time, Caltrans has hundreds and hundreds of projects going on throughout the state. So we are feeling that this is a good way to capture what the contractor is doing with the material. So as a result, now we're able to see where it's going, and we can account for it through this solid waste disposal and recycling report.